I found myself ensnared within the pages of a tragic narrative where the male protagonist's ethereal love, his white moonlight, had just returned. The white moonlight grasped my hand, weeping softly, "Sister, I am truly sorry. I cannot let go of Yunshen. You have monopolized him for 3 years. It is time you returned him to me." Yunshen produced a divorce agreement, confessing, "Initially, I wronged Xinyan. It is my fault, and I must take responsibility." Clutching the script, I couldn't help but chuckle. Fool. She is pregnant and in a rush to register the child. Just accept it, acknowledging it will silence everything. Before sleep, I perused a tale steeped in sorrow. The female protagonist, misunderstood and abandoned by the male lead, suffered as her child fell victim to her own mother's treachery, enduring in silence as if she were mute, ultimately leading to her tragic suicide. Such a narrative left me utterly speechless. Am I truly such a wretched being? Why must I be tormented by this plot? It seems the answer is a resounding yes. For upon awakening, I discovered that I had transformed into the female lead of this tale, Xinyan. The plot had progressed to the moment when the male lead, Yunshen's white moonlight, his half-sister Xinyan, returned to the country, compelling me to divorce him. Last night, consumed by anger and unable to sleep, I dreamed of how I would retaliate if I were the protagonist. Little did I know, my dreams would manifest so swiftly. Indeed, fortune favors the prepared. At this moment, my mother, Yunshen, raised her hand to strike me. In the original narrative, even my own mother pressured me to relinquish my husband to Xinyan, who, mind you, was born of my father's infidelity. My mother, in an effort to showcase her status as the legitimate wife, willingly nurtured the child of the mistress, treating Xinyan as her own daughter. She claimed that one day, Xinyan would sincerely regard her as her true mother, asserting that this was the epitome of a woman's ultimate victory over a mistress. What a venomous plot! Yet I am not the protagonist. I cannot bear such indignity. Thus, in the very second before Yunshen's palm met my cheek, I swiftly evaded her strike. She stumbled, landing ungracefully. Ouch. She cried in pain, pointing a finger at me in outrage. "You wretched girl. How dare you dodge?" This was a scenario absent from the original text. I felt a profound premonition that, from this moment onward, the wheels of fate would begin to turn anew. Xinyan hurriedly approached to assist Yunshen, showcasing her feigned gentleness and kindness, not neglecting to take a jab at me. "Sister, if you are angry," directed at me. "How can you treat mother this way?" She was adept at playing the innocent and stirring the pot. As anticipated, Yunshen grew even angrier, her gaze sharp as a dagger, wishing to eliminate me on the spot. Yunshen exclaimed, "Xinyan surpasses you in every way. She and Yunshen share mutual affection. Had it not been for your shameless interference, they would have been together long ago. The position of Mrs. Gu rightfully belongs to Xinyan. I advise you to recognize your place." I clapped my hands in approval, marveling at the absurdity of this character crafted solely to torment the female lead. I casually remarked, "Why not relinquish your position to Xinyan's mother? I hear my father and her mother are also deeply in love and inseparable." Upon hearing this, Yunshen's face turned a deep shade of crimson. "Sister, how can you speak to mother like that?" Xinyan stepped forward, eager to engage me in debate, her demeanor exuding indignation despite its lack of substance. I smiled coldly. "I merely pointed out what she failed to mention about you, did I not? Your mother is a mistress, and you too are a mistress. You two truly are cut from the same cloth. Is there some hereditary trait in your family? Did humanity's evolution neglect to include you? You are utterly devoid of morality and shame." With eloquence and sharp retorts, I stood my ground, no longer the pliable soft fruit of the past, leaving the three before me utterly speechless. Particularly Yunshen, whose penetrating gaze felt as though it could see through my very soul, despite my not having cast him more than a sidelong glance. Then, to my astonishment, Xinyan pouted, grasped my hand, and with a thud, knelt before me. With tearful eyes, she lamented, "Sister, I am truly sorry, but I cannot let go of Yunshen. You have monopolized him for 3 years. It is time for you to return him to me, is it not?" Xinyan's countenance is inherently enchanting, and when she weeps, she evokes an overwhelming sense of pity. She embodies the delicate and fragile image of a helpless little flower with remarkable finesse. Gazing at Yunshen, my heart ached profoundly. I swiftly pulled him into my embrace, wishing fervently that he could pierce through me with those eyes of his. 3 parts cold detachment, 3 parts scornful mockery, and 4 parts nonchalance. Enough of this, Su Xinyo. He presented the divorce agreement before me, urging, sign here. It was I who wronged Xinyan in the beginning. I must acknowledge my fault. What a farce of feigned affection. I and the true leading lady, script in hand. Very well. You leave with nothing but your child, the funds in your account, and all assets under your name shall revert to me. I shall not lay claim to the company, for I have no inclination to manage it. The mere thought of it is exhausting and utterly beyond my capacity. Gu Yunshen's tone was frigid, devoid of the slightest hesitation. I, too, felt no reluctance as I swiftly inscribed my name upon the divorce agreement. To hesitate for even a moment would be a disservice to the money at stake. As a diligent worker enduring the grind of a 996 schedule, I barely scraped by on a meager monthly salary of 4,000 to 5,000 yuan, every cent stretched to its limit. Yet here I was, unexpectedly transformed into a wealthy and leisurely lady of high society, embarking on a divorce while raising a child, an existence I could scarcely have dared to envision. Not even the turtles in the wishing well would have dared to entertain such a wish of mine. I feared that if I wrote too slowly, Gu Yunshen might have a change of heart. Simultaneously, I noticed a tender exchange of glances between Gu Yunshen and Su Xinyan, their faces aglow with joy, which instantly conjured images of a protagonist driven to despair. How dare these scoundrels? As I handed the divorce agreement to Gu Yunshen, I deliberately bumped into Su Xinyan, causing her handbag to tumble to the ground, scattering its contents across the floor. Oh, what is this? A pregnancy test result? I deliberately waved the pregnancy test report in front of Gu Yunshen, reveling in a moment. See this, you fool? She's expecting, anxious to register the child. And if you enjoy playing the role of the unwitting fool, so be it. Each acknowledgement comes without a word. In an instant, I noticed the joy on Gu Yunshen's face evaporate, replaced by a veneer of frost settling in his gaze. Su Xinyan, clearly flustered, implored, Yunshen, please let me explain. It's not what you think. Not what, exactly? Are you suggesting that you conceived Gu Yunshen's child the very moment you disembarked from the plane? That would indeed be quite remarkable. I interjected with a sense of schadenfreude, prompting Su Xinyan to erupt in indignation. Su Xinyo, silence yourself. This pertains to the matter between Yunshen and myself. I stuck out my tongue and made a mocking face, sarcastically exclaiming, Oh dear, how eager you are. I understand your urgency, but do refrain for a moment. While I've heard of a hasty departure, I've yet to encounter the notion of delivering the goods right to one's doorstep. Your service is indeed quite thorough. I observed the fluster in Su Xinyan's demeanor. I had warned against celebrating too soon. Upon perceiving the precariousness of the situation, Yang Qin promptly stepped forward to advocate for Su Xinyan. Yunshen, do not be swayed by this contemptible wretch's provocations. Xinyan has endured great hardships alone overseas for many years. She has faced numerous tribulations, and some circumstances were beyond her control. Let's not forget, it was you who once shattered her heart, compelling her to seek refuge abroad. As Yang Qin spoke, Su Xinyan wept silently, her tears cascading without a sound. Her beautiful eyes brimmed with glistening tears, and it was not just Gu Yunshen who felt a pang of emotion. Even I found it hard to remain unmoved. Truly, what a remarkable actress. Thus, I once again committed an indiscretion, interjecting, Is that so? Yet, I have heard whispers that she eloped with Gu Shao. 3. Upon hearing the name Gu Shao, Gu Yunshen's eyelids involuntarily twitched twice. Indeed, he was none other than his half-brother. Yang Qin and Su Xinyan were left utterly astonished. They had not anticipated that I possessed such knowledge. Yang Qin immediately flared up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, sharply rebuking, You insolent girl, what nonsense are you spouting? Why does my sister choose to slander me in this manner? Su Xinyan appeared to be burdened with an immense grievance.
Yang Qin promptly interjected,
You are the one who drugged Yunshen and climbed into his bed. Now you dare to slander Xinyan. How can you be so malicious? In truth, all of this is knowledge that Gu Yunshen would only come to comprehend after the demise of the female protagonist. Su Xinyan never harbored any genuine affection for Gu Yunshen. Rather, she orchestrated a scheme to drug him, leading him to mistake the female protagonist for her during a moment of confusion and subsequently forced himself upon her. As a consequence, Gu Yunshen was compelled to marry the female protagonist. The so-called heartbreak that prompted Su Xinyan to travel abroad was merely a meticulously crafted ruse, as she had clandestinely eloped with Gu Shao. Gu Shao, the illegitimate son of the Gu family, was the product of a cunning mother who manipulated Gu Yunshen's father to the point of bewilderment, to the extent that he intended to bequeath the entirety of the family estate to Gu Xiao. It was her formidable tactics that ultimately led to their divorce, with Gu Yunshen's father departing with nothing. 3 years prior, Gu Xiao, this illegitimate offspring, was the highly sought-after heir to the Gu enterprise. Perhaps they had been scheming for a resurgence all these years, yet their aspirations bore no fruit. Thus, Su Xinyan's return was inevitable. Upon discovering the truth, Gu Yunshen was filled with remorse. He personally ensured Gu Zhao's imprisonment and subjected Su Xinyan to a torment so profound that she yearned for death. Yet, the female protagonist could never return. The fury and injustice that had simmered within upon witnessing this narrative have now erupted in full force. Who dares to speak such falsehoods? Who has dared to slander her? Do you not have any inkling about who procured the medication? Would you like me to assist you in recalling the sequence of events regarding your acquisition of the pharmaceuticals? Alternatively, one might consider a visit to the hospital to ascertain the identity of the life growing within her womb. With each utterance, I advanced towards Yangqin, compelling her to retreat step by step, her complexion paling with every encroachment. I am not the meek protagonist of the original text who silently endures due to familial ties. I harbor no affection for them and would not hesitate to expose their past misdeeds. How long must one wait for the male lead to gradually uncover the truth, only to later lament his ignorance? Moreover, I have no intention of taking my own life. What do I wish for him to regret? Yangqin and Su Xinyan were rendered speechless by my retort. Gu Yunshen looked at me with a face full of astonishment. I rolled my eyes at him and remarked, "You should actually thank me. If it weren't for my discovery of the pregnancy test results, that mother-daughter duo would have been scheming about how to pin the child onto you next. How could such a wise and astute woman as my mother-in-law give birth to someone as dim-witted as you? Your mind is so rigid that even a zombie would regurgitate it," followed by a disdainful exclamation, "Pa, love-struck fool." I do not conceal my disdain for Gu Yunshen. In the original narrative, the female protagonist refrains from seeking a divorce for the sake of her child, while Su Xinyan, emboldened by the illegitimate child in her womb, engages in various antics that exacerbate the misunderstandings between Gu Yunshen and the female lead. Later, when the female lead son falls ill and requires surgery, Gu Yunshen is found accompanying Su Xinyan. The female lead's mother, that wretched old woman, deliberately feeds the child prior to the operation, resulting in the tragic demise of the innocent 2-year-old who comprehends nothing of the world. Yet, the mother merely exclaims, "How was I to know it would be this severe? It was not my intention." I observed Xian looking pitifully hungry, and with genuine kindness, I offered him something to eat, yet you choose to reproach me instead? Perhaps it is the heavens themselves that are exacting retribution upon you, as the sins you have committed manifest in the suffering of your son. That which is obtained through unscrupulous means is destined to be fleeting. In truth, her actions were deliberate, for Su Xinyan exhibited signs of a threatened miscarriage, and she had consulted a soothsayer who proclaimed that the child of the protagonist was the source of her affliction. Of course, this soothsayer was orchestrated by Su Xinyan, and the signs of miscarriage were merely a ruse she meticulously crafted. After the death of her son, the protagonist, consumed by despair, ultimately affixed her signature to the divorce agreement, severing her ties with the Gu family. Though Gu Yunshen felt a twinge of emotion, his heart remained steadfastly devoted to Su Xinyan, to the extent that he was oblivious to the time of the protagonist's demise. During the celebration of Su Xinyan's child's first month, a call was made to the female protagonist, only to find her phone turned off. It was presumed that she was sulking, leading to a flurry of text messages. It had been nearly a year. Surely, she had sulked enough by now? Regardless of the circumstances, Xinyan remained your sister. She had specifically invited you to the celebration. If you chose not to attend, how could she possibly save face? The divorce agreement would remain unsigned, and you would continue to be Mrs. Gu. You may throw tantrums and create havoc, but do not forget your identity. Reading this passage nearly drove me to madness. I felt an overwhelming urge to strike these individuals down. Is this what they call literary death? I would rather label it literary frustration. The female protagonist is akin to a gourd with a sawed-off mouth, oblivious even when pricked by a needle. The male lead, a quintessential domineering CEO and an intellectual elite, is utterly manipulated by a White Lotus character. To make matters worse, his mother, steeped in archaic and oppressive thoughts, disregards her biological daughter while cherishing the offspring of the mistress. It is utterly infuriating. However, having now assumed the role of the female protagonist, I am determined to transform this narrative into one of madness. Gu Yunshen was enveloped in a palpable tension. His expression was stern, brows knitted, and his crimson eyes fixated on Su Xinyan as he questioned her with deliberate clarity. Is what you said true? Su Xinyan shook her head vehemently. No, Yunshen. It's not as you think. Yet, before she could complete her thoughts, my son Xianxian descended the stairs, freshly awakened, rubbing his sleepy eyes in search of me. In his sweet, innocent voice he called out, "Mommy." My heart melted instantly. The little one was indeed as described in the narrative, a soft and adorable child. Xianxian. Mommy is here. I hurriedly scooped the little one into my embrace. Upon spotting Gu Yunshen, he expressed delight. Daddy. I swiftly shielded the child's eyes, declaring, "That is not your father. He is a filthy thing." Cradling Xianxian, I continued, "Xianxian, remember, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry deserves to be your father. Some individuals do not even love their own children and truly ought to seek psychiatric help." As I approached the door, a realization struck me. This is my home. Why should I leave? Thus, I halted, turning back to survey the trio in the living room. They were utterly detestable. With great restraint, I implored, "Please, within 3 seconds, vacate my sight." Gu Yunshen strode away with purpose. Su Xinyan followed, weeping and pleading. Yang Qin shot a furious glare in my direction, vowing to settle the score with me later. Ha! Bring it on! As someone who has traversed into a book, do you think I fear her? Days later, I encountered Gu Yunshen at the hospital. Yang Qin was anxiously pulling him towards the inpatient department. "Yunshen, you've arrived. Hurry and see Xinyan. The doctor warned that her abortion could be dangerous, yet she insisted on going through with it for you, nearly losing her life." I was taken aback. Is Su Xinyan truly this ruthless to herself, risking her life for an abortion? It simply could not be. She must be fabricating this to manipulate Gu Yunshen into feeling pity. Look at this foolishness. Here they come. Yang Qin continued her incessant chatter. "Xinyan never wanted me to tell you, but initially, she was coerced by that scoundrel Gu Shao. Her heart has always belonged to you, and she would do anything for you. Over the years, she endured confinement and coercion, suffering greatly. Now that she has returned, you have no idea how many times she has secretly wept." Yang Qin's words were a mix of truth and lies, even moving herself to tears. Strangely enough, it was my premature revelation of the plot that had inadvertently provided them with an opportunity to concoct a cover-up. Perhaps Su Xinyan has indeed faced hardships, but she was never coerced by Gu Shao. After her father was left with nothing, their family lost its source of income, leading to resentment that was unjustly directed at Su Xinyan. She could no longer endure and returned home, even bringing back Gu Zhao's child, hoping to make Gu Yunshen shoulder the blame. Ah, such is love. Gu Yunshen, oblivious to his surroundings, was nearly upon me when he finally noticed Xianxian and me. How absurd. At such a young age, his eyesight seemed to fail him. Furrowing his brows, he asked, "What are you doing here?" Upon seeing Xianxian, who was receiving an IV drip, a flicker of urgency crossed his face. "What is wrong with Xianxian?" he inquired, reaching out to touch him. I deftly sidestepped, retorting, "None of your business." With that, I continued on my way, silently repeating, "Foolishness, begone. Foolishness, begone." Yes, I had brought Xianxian to the hospital early. He had a heart condition that required prompt detection and treatment. This adorable child would not meet the grim fate scripted in the narrative. As his mother, I bore the responsibility to ensure his health and well-being as he grew. Gu Yunshen, despite his aloofness, clearly cared for his son. Chasing after us, what happened to Xianxian? I have the right to know. I am his father. Yang Qin, in a state of panic, grabbed his arm. "Yunshen, Xinyan is waiting for you. If you don't hurry." I interrupted impatiently. "Did you not hear? If you don't go soon, your darling will be in grave danger." How laughable. Even tofu has a brain, yet you do not. Just listen to their nonsense, and you'll end up with a limp leg. I quickened my pace, unwilling to engage with these two any longer. Rejecting mental anguish, I opted for outright madness. My words sparked Yang Qin's ire. She seized my arm and began to berate me. "You little wretch. Just wait until I tear your filthy mouth apart. What has my daughter ever done to you? Are you so happy wishing death upon her? This shameless creature, it was you who brought Xinyan to her current state. If anything were to happen to her, I'd fight you to the death." Clutching Xianxian, I nearly stumbled as she yanked me, causing him to wail in fright. This old hag. Infuriated, I kicked her. "Get lost." Yang Qin collapsed dramatically to the ground, wailing, "An ungrateful child. How dare you strike your own mother? Do you not fear the wrath of heaven?" Oh no, I thought. I have provoked a lunatic. Su Xinyan entered the crowd's gaze. Great, now another one has arrived. I seem to have stirred the nest of a madwoman. Clad in a hospital gown, her face as pale as parchment, she approached with red-rimmed eyes. Mom, are you alright? Let me see if you're hurt. Yunshen seized Xinyan's arm, lamenting dramatically. Xinyan, I can no longer endure this. I raised you with such care, and this is how you repay me? The two of them, a theatrical duo, filled me with an ominous premonition. Truth be told, I regretted my earlier outburst. Had I known, I would have refrained from speaking impulsively. As the crowd grew, Xinyan seized the opportunity to turn the tables on me. Sister, you took Yunshen from me, causing me to lose my child, and now you dare to attack our mother? She is the one who gave you life. How could you treat her this way? The Gu family, after all, is a prominent family. The scandal surrounding Gu Yunshen and the Su sisters had once stirred the city, and now, as the past resurfaced, onlookers, both informed and uninformed, were eager to gossip about how I, the elder sister, had shamelessly drugged my brother-in-law, climbed into his bed, and ultimately married him, giving birth to his child. I have come to realize that Xinyan is intentionally seizing the opportunity to showcase her talents. During the ruckus at home that day, devoid of an audience, she did not reveal her true acting prowess. Today, however, is when her skills truly come to the fore. Her remarkable audacity and her talent for obfuscation genuinely astound me. Just as I was about to refute her, a powerful voice resonated from afar, affirming the sentiment. It was none other than my former mother-in-law, Gu Yunshen's mother, striding towards us with purpose. Adorned in a bespoke qipao embroidered with white camellias and accompanied by a set of exquisite jade jewelry, she walked gracefully in high heels, exuding dignity and elegance. Well preserved, she appeared to be in her 30s despite being in her 40s, her noble demeanor and graceful mannerisms starkly contrasting with Yunshen's presence. My former mother-in-law approached me with determination, first showing concern by gently touching the child in my arms, Xinyan, before taking him into her own embrace. She then directed a pointed remark at Gu Yunshen, asking, "Are you a corpse?" Beautifully put. I had longed to voice such sentiments. What on earth was that wooden man doing standing there, utterly oblivious? Could it be that his vision is so clouded by his white moonlight that he cannot perceive anyone else? What a scoundrel! It was only then that Gu Yunshen, seemingly coming to his senses, cradled Xinyan and asked, "Mom, when did you return? Why didn't you inform me to pick you up at the airport? How could I trouble you?" My former mother-in-law replied, looking at Gu Yunshen as if he were simple-minded. She then turned her gaze to Xinyan, sizing her up before inquiring, "Are you so eager to show filial piety to another's mother because you have none of your own?" Such assertiveness. Truly, she is a formidable woman who tears apart scoundrels with ease. At this juncture, even Yunshen dared not cause a scene. Rising from the ground, she plastered a smile on her face and said, "Mother-in-law, you've misunderstood." "Silence. We are not acquainted," my former mother-in-law retorted, pulling my hand as she stated. "My family's divorce agreement is signed. From now on, our two families shall have no further ties." "Mother-in-law, that is not how it is. There is still Xinyan, and she is connected to Yunshen." My former mother-in-law interrupted, "To be honest, Ms. Yang, you're the person I admire most. Only you could treat the child of a mistress as your own." This remark filled Yunshen with excitement, her face beaming with pride. Foolishly believing she was being genuinely praised, she eagerly replied, "It is my duty. Xinyan is a good child. By the way, I heard her mother is pregnant again. This time it is likely a son. Congratulations in advance. You are indeed fortunate. You need not bear children yourself, and honestly, the ones you bear are not cherished anyway." The shift in conversation was palpable. Not only I, but also the onlookers could hardly suppress their laughter. Yunshen's expression fluctuated between pale and flushed. My former mother-in-law whispered derisively, "I have seen bound feet, but never a bound brain. Are people from the Qing dynasty so difficult to eliminate? Come, Yuyo, from now on, consider them all dead. Let them stir as they please." "All right, Mom," I nodded vigorously, grinning broadly. With such a sturdy figure to lean on, I could practically stride forward without a care. What need had I for a man? As we walked and chatted, our relationship swiftly transitioned from mother-daughter to close sisters. Suddenly, Gu Yunshen interjected, "Mom, I have yet to sign the divorce agreement." We both turned in unison to see Gu Yunshen following us, holding Xinyan. We exchanged identical looks of disdain. Regardless of what hint Gu Yunshen was attempting to convey, my dear mother was not swayed, scoffing, "Then hurry and sign. Do not delay my efforts to find Yuyo a new partner." She then patted my shoulder with earnest intent, stating, "This time, I shall personally oversee your affairs. A worthless piece of trash like him is not to be kept. He is just like his father, crooked from the start. Oh, I declare, This is my true mother. Such a mother deserves the highest accolades. The original text offers scant details about this character, only revealing her to be a forceful woman who shows no mercy to her unfaithful husband and his mistress, thoroughly putting them in their place. She had even urged the female protagonist to divorce him. Unfortunately, the protagonist held feelings for Yunshen and was unwilling to part ways, leading her to relent in her counsel. She had remained abroad and had not returned until my presence altered the trajectory of the original narrative.
Mom.
Do not call me Mom. I could never bear a son as heartless as you. Marry whomever you wish. I will not interfere, as long as you cease to torment Yuyo and Xinyan. Yunshen retreated, chastised by his mother. I paid no heed to the unfolding dynamics between him and Xinyan. My sole concern was Xuanxuan's health. The doctor indicated that Xuanxuan's condition had been detected in a timely manner, making this the optimal moment for surgery. I promptly signed the necessary documents, instructing the doctor to arrange the procedure. In the original narrative, Xuanxuan's illness was discovered a month later, at which point the risks associated with surgery had escalated considerably, compounded by that old hag's schemes. Therefore, I remained vigilant, resolutely preventing Xinyan and Yangqin from approaching Xianxian, often barring Yunshen from entry as well. I could not ascertain whether Yunshen's feelings for Xinyan might lead him to act irrationally. The risk was too great.
Yangqin visited twice.
Though her intent was solely to curry favor with my mother, a rather pitiable endeavor given her husband was pursuing a divorce to marry his mistress. Truly, she exemplified the archetype of a devoted wife and mother. Little did she know that those who superficially complimented her were secretly mocking her. For such a Navi soul is indeed a rarity. Xuanxuan's surgery proceeded smoothly, and his recovery was remarkable. Within a mere month, he was discharged from the hospital. During this period, I was on edge, fearing I lacked the power to alter the narrative's course. According to the original storyline, Xianxian would have succumbed by now. And soon after, I would have spiraled into despair, contemplating suicide. Thankfully, my fervent resolve mitigated any potential calamities. Simultaneously, another plotline unfolded prematurely. My nominal father, Su Mingyuan, found himself embroiled in a divorce lawsuit with Yangqin. This event was initially set to occur after the protagonist's demise. Ultimately, Yangqin would end up with nothing, even Xinyan betraying her. It was only then that she would finally recall the protagonist, her biological daughter, lamenting the cruel treatment she had inflicted upon her in favor of the ungrateful Xinyan, only to be consumed by regret. In a fit of rage, she would set ablaze the Su family estate, dragging all its inhabitants down to perdition. The conclusion was undeniably satisfying. Yet, the protagonist would still meet her untimely end. Even if she witnessed everyone regretting their past wrongs, what solace would it bring her? Death extinguishes all. On the day of the court hearing I attended, witnessing firsthand Yangqin's defeat, the Su family's assets had long been transferred by Su Mingyuan, leaving her with nothing. She was utterly oblivious to the machinations around her. Her mind consumed with notions of virtue. Even after her husband's infidelity, she never contemplated divorce, striving diligently to embody the role of a virtuous and forgiving wife. Yet, she never anticipated that she would find herself on the receiving end of divorce. After exiting the court, she lost control, charging towards Su Mingyuan, her voice hoarse with desperation. Su Mingyuan, why must you treat me this way? I have never opposed your affairs. I even embraced the children you bore with other women as my own. What have I done to deserve this? You insist on divorcing me? I could sense her entire world collapsing, despair etched across her face. Su Mingyuan refrained from idle words, making his intentions clear. Yes, you have done nothing wrong. I am the one at fault. My son must have a legitimate identity. This portion aligns closely with the original text, albeit with one distinction. Su Mingyuan's son has yet to be born, while in the original narrative, that child was already a year old. The child is nearly the same age as Su Xinyan. Had it not been for Yangqin's overwhelming distress that drove her to madness, their family might have truly walked over the female protagonist's corpse to embrace a harmonious and blissful reunion. I can, and I will treat him as my own son. As long as you do not divorce me, I will comply with any of your demands. Yangqin was reduced to utter humility. Yet Su Mingyuan only desired to distance himself from her, his eyes now devoid of warmth. How much affection can a man, who has long been unfaithful, harbor for his original wife? Yangqin once again caught sight of Su Xinyan and, as if seizing a lifeline, implored, Yan, you stand with your mother.
Don't you?
Please, plead with your father. Beg him not to divorce me. I have treated you well, and I will be good to your brother in the future as well. You must speak to him, please. Yang Qin had somewhat lost her sanity, after all. She had once adamantly declared that she would ensure the child of the mistress would regard her as a mother. She had proudly asserted that as long as she lived, the myriad of flings outside would merely be concubines. Such statements are usually dismissed as mere jokes by rational individuals, yet she was living out this absurdity. Consequently, she transformed herself into a laughingstock. Xinyan, however, did not mirror her father's callousness. After all, there were numerous eyes watching. She still had to maintain the faade of a good person. Aunt Yang, please don't act this way. This decision is made by my father, and I cannot interfere. But rest assured, I shall not forget your kindness towards me. The way Xinyan addressed her as Aunt Yang genuinely amused me. Her ability to switch titles was indeed swift. This completely shattered Yang Qin. Trembling, she exclaimed, "You ungrateful wretch! I have indeed wasted my affection on you. How could one raise a child that is not their own? It is truly a fruitless endeavor." Then, naturally, she turned her thoughts towards me, scanning the crowd for my figure. At the moment she spotted me, I turned away without a second thought, denying her any chance of retention. A mother like this is better left behind. Moreover, I am not the original protagonist, and I am unburdened by the ties of familial affection. I shall not soften my heart. Her current predicament is a result of her own making. Regrettably, I still could not evade Yang Qin's relentless pursuit. She initially bombarded me with messages and calls, weeping and begging for forgiveness. After I blacklisted all her contact methods, she resorted to causing a scene at my home. Her main objective was still to implore me to persuade Su Mingyuan against the divorce. I truly felt pity for her. Can one not live without a man? To prevent being morally coerced, I was prepared. I took out my phone, opened the live streaming software, and pointed it at Yang Qin, stating, "If you can reveal all the things you have done to me over the years, I will forgive you." I was eager to see if she would muster the courage to speak in front of a vast audience. As expected, Yang Qin soon left in a dejected manner. A sense of desolation enveloped me. I could not discern how much of Yang Qin's remorse and tears towards the protagonist were genuine feelings. On the day Yunshen personally delivered the divorce agreement, he inquired before leaving, "Can you tell me where the original Su Xinyo has gone?" I was somewhat taken aback. I had not expected Yunshen to be the first to recognize that I was not the original protagonist. In the original narrative, Yunshen only realized he deeply loved the protagonist after her demise. Is it truly possible to harbor an undetected love? As someone who has been single since birth, I find it incomprehensible. "She has perished, vanished without a trace," I replied. Yunshen remained silent for a moment, then nodded slightly. Without uttering another word, he departed. Regardless, I could not fathom Yunshen's thoughts. Whether he felt sorrow or regret mattered little to me. All I desired was to live well with Xinyan. Unfortunately, the winds of fate are relentless. Once Su Xinyan's mother was officially recognized, she promptly married Su Mingyuan. On the day of the wedding, Yang Qin created a scene, even injuring someone in the process. Ultimately, she was escorted away by the police. Su Xinyan became the legitimate daughter of the Su family, frequently attending various public events. In truth, she was seeking opportunities to approach Yunshen. She even manipulated the media to create a narrative suggesting that she was soon to marry into the Gu family. However, when reporters questioned Yunshen, he merely responded with icy indifference, "I will ensure that those who spread malicious rumors will face consequences." Within 2 months, Yunshen orchestrated the complete downfall of the Su family. Su Xinyan's attempts at courtship backfired spectacularly, jeopardizing the entire Su family, yet she remained undeterred. Redirecting her animosity toward me, she resurrected old grievances, accusing me of being unfilial. I truly felt as though I was innocently seated at home when calamity struck from above. Initially, I had no intention of engaging with her, yet she insisted on provoking me, repulsing me. Thus, I had no choice but to respond with a lack of courtesy. I proactively unlocked the narrative from the original text. I revealed to the world the details of how Su Xinyan and Yang Qin had drugged me, followed by her elopement with Gu Shao, her pregnancy, and subsequent miscarriage. In the original story, these actions were attributed to Yunshen, but now that I have assumed the identity of the protagonist, I naturally felt compelled to exact revenge on her behalf. Overnight, Su Xinyan became infamous. No one expected that the seemingly innocent and harmless Su Xinyan had engaged in such sordid deeds and was straddling 2 boats. About half a month later, just as I thought everything had settled, I received a call from the police station requesting my cooperation in an investigation regarding a deliberate arson case. Immediately, I recalled the devastating fire at the Su family in the original text. However, that didn't make sense. The Su family had already been brought to ruin by Yunshen, and their mansion had been mortgaged. Captain Liu, who was in charge of the investigation, clarified my confusion. We have checked. After the Su family went bankrupt, your father Su Mingyuan's family has been residing in this underground parking garage. I glanced at the photographs from the scene, which had been reduced to a charred wreck, unrecognizable. Captain Liu continued, we discovered 3 charred bodies at the site, one of which was a pregnant woman, confirmed to be Su Mingyuan's current wife. The other 2 bodies, one male and one female, are likely Su Mingyuan and Su Xinyan, but further confirmation is necessary. I understood. Verification was required. I complied and provided a blood sample. In the original narrative, Yangqin had perished alongside them, but why were there only 3 bodies? Is it confirmed to be arson? I inquired. Due to the unpredictable twists of the narrative, I hesitated to ascertain the truth. It is confirmed. The arsonist is your mother.
Yangqin.
She was released from custody yesterday, and someone saw her near the rental property yesterday evening. Clearly, she was the one who set the fire. The male corpse was undoubtedly Su Mingyuan, but who could the other female corpse be?
Yangqin?
Or Su Xinyan? For some reason, an unsettling feeling washed over me. My instincts told me Su Xinyan was still alive. Upon leaving the police station, I hurried home. I intended to gather my belongings and take Xian to another residence that night, while also having Yunshen arrange for a few reliable bodyguards for our protection. As I approached the outskirts of the villa area, I spotted Aunt Wang, holding Xian, peering anxiously at the roadside. Upon seeing my car, she rushed towards me, waving. Miss Su, just stop there, I'll come to get it.
Get what?
At that moment, I became alert. I immediately exited the car to assist her. Just then, a gray van suddenly charged towards us. Su Xinyan screamed in excitement. Su Xinyo, die. Go die. She was indeed alive. Her face was smeared with blood, looking grotesquely terrifying. At that moment, I had no way to evade. I could only push Aunt Wang, who was rushing towards me with Xian, aside, ready to meet the violent collision with my own body.
Bang!
The deafening sound of impact echoed in my ears. Amidst the billowing smoke and the acrid stench that assailed my senses, I beheld Yunshen at the wheel of a black sedan, forcefully colliding with Su Xinyan's vehicle, sending it careening away. Neither Xian nor I sustained even the slightest injury. Tragically, Su Xinyan met her demise on the spot. She had deceitfully used a voice changer to contact Sister Wang, luring her into bringing Xian out to retrieve something. Fully aware that I would go to great lengths to rescue Xian, it was a deliberate trap. Yunshen was subsequently rushed to the hospital, but alas, his injuries were too severe, and he could not be saved. Following the conclusion of Yunshen's funeral, I donated all my real estate holdings and embarked on a journey around the world with Xian. I surmise that Yunshen has now encountered the female protagonist from the original text. I wonder what they might converse about.
The end.